Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Football Focus SG podcast with myself, Faiz, and my co host, Mr. JB. And we have a special guest today to join us, and that's his name is Ajmal, also known as AJ. Welcome to our podcast. How are you feeling today?
I'm good. I'm good. Glad to be here. Thanks for inviting me. Okay, I'm not so special, but I guess hopefully on the way to be a very special one.
No, I mean, every guest that joins to our podcast is a special thing to us because, again, we do this as a hobby. Because one thing we all love is football. That's all that we care about, and we want to talk about it as much as we can. So, really, again, thank you for spending your time with us. So, Mr. AJ or Ajmal, whichever you prefer, share with us a bit of
Yeah.
yourself. Like, how old are you? When do you start watching football? What inspired you? Who you supporting? Share with us a bit of yourself.
All right. So a little bit about myself. Of course, my name is Ajmal or AJ for short. I am currently 22 years old. I am actually doing my internship or working, some would say, at Sports SG. So basically the sports headquarters of Singapore. And
Ah,
I'm directly in charge of football, hence why I am here as well, because I'm interested in
wow.
football.
All
So
right, all right.
for football wise, on myself, I actually I would say I started a bit late. I started when I was like in my teens, 13 years old.
Uh-huh.
And of course, slowly played my way up. I've represented youth level for Tampines Rovers when I was 15 and 16.
Wow.
Currently not playing due to a ACL injury, which hopefully by next year will be fine. Then
Oh,
hopefully from there can start playing again. Yeah.
okay. All right. So, is there any like current team or league or things going on? Is there any team that you're following at the moment or in general?
So of course, Gunners, as you are, Faiz as well. Arsenal, let's go.
Yes.
So currently doing quite well. Just got the 3 points against City. I think that's the best part. So hopefully we can continue on from there.
Nice, nice. Mr. JB, I can see you very quiet over there after him introducing about his loyalty to the Gunners. Do you have any questions for our special guest, Mr. AJ here?
Yeah, I mean, it's quite interesting to know that. Yeah, I mean, he does have a background in football, which is interesting. So hopefully, it may helps in our discussion. And yes, so it's nice to have Arsenal fans because I'd rather have Arsenal fans than other fans from a certain club that I shall not mention the name. So yeah,
Yeah, I
Arsenal fans
mean,
are nice.
if
Yeah, they are
people watch in
naturally
the last
friendly.
episode, we all know who you're talking about already then.
Yeah, that's right. So yep,
All right. So do you have
yeah,
any questions
glad to
for
have
our special
AG
guest?
on board.
Yeah.
Perhaps you can start with the first question first.
All right,
Ais,
sure.
do you have any?
Okay.
I have
Uh,
to think of a few.
So you mentioned earlier that you were a part of the Tampines youth system that you joined, and of course, due to injury, I'm sorry to hear that. It's unfortunate, but hopefully you are trying to get back into it, right? So
Yep.
as a youth in the academy when you are playing like for Tampines Rovers at the moment, um, share with us a bit your experience as a youth player going through up the ranks in the youth system of a local club like this. How exactly the experience is like?
Okay, so okay. Okay, that was back in when I was 15 and 16. That was like what 6 years ago. So back then, uh I don't know if you remember, Tampines Rovers was like going through a phase, started signing, if you all know Jermaine Pennant,
Yeah, of course.
remember that
Yeah.
time where
Yeah.
Tampines Rovers, yep, so he was getting a lot of money. I think we all know that as well. He was, I think, the
Yeah.
highest paid footballer in S League history or something like that.
Yeah.
So I joined during those times, and
Oh.
um, we talk about something which is, I think, a bit interesting, the financial part, which people don't see. They
Mm.
see us playing games because our team wasn't the best. If I'm not wrong, sadly, I
Mm.
joined during the last 3 games, but the league record was basically only 2 draws and all losses.
Oh wow.
So that was a sad, yeah, that was very, very bad.
Mm.
And so, yeah, so enough of the results, because the results overall was bad. But I would say one of the main things that affected it was the financial part. So why the financial part? Even though us youth players, I don't know about now because I'm pretty sure now, like with sailors, they get paid a lot more.
Yeah.
But during our time, we only get paid $30 a month. So
Really?
basically, it's just pass fest. Yes, we only get paid $30 a month. And for Tampines Rovers side of point, I only can speak on my point of view because I experienced it.
Mm.
In terms of the youth system, there was no discipline in the young players.
Um,
And I think it was quite sad because when I joined during the last 3 games, I went for training with them first, training track. The coach was there, I was there, and out of the 25 men squad, if I'm not mistaken, 25 of us, only 5, including me, came to training, which is very bad. I
yeah,
mean,
that is,
as a
yeah,
professional team,
correct.
you would expect discipline, especially if you're representing a club.
Is it because
like
that they
Tampines
look at
Rovers.
this as more like a
And
hobby rather than a career then for them?
yeah. I mean, definitely because okay, yeah, when you're young, you play for passion. But I think during that age, that's when they start to prioritize a lot of things, other things, because 15, 16 studies and all that.
Yeah.
So maybe that could be the reason. Sometimes some of them say that they are injured, but then when the next week comes, so this is a real thing that happened. The next week comes after the training, even though they said they are injured, they come for the match,
Oh,
which is
really?
very sad. So yes, so it happens. Basically, when there's training, attendance is below 50%, and when there's a match, we have full attendance.
Oh,
So that is very common. And actually, I can't speak for the youth now, but I've heard this happening a lot even in the recent leagues, COE leagues right now, which are happening, which is quite sad to hear. Because where's the discipline in becoming a professional footballer? Yes, maybe you don't get paid as much, but the love for the game, if the love for the game is there, you should be passionate and disciplined in it.
Mm.
So that was quite sad.
Yeah.
So okay, I keep on drifting to the part because the financial part I think was very important because during that time, Champions Rovers had I would say a downfall because of the amount of money they were paying Pennant. I don't know about the other players. They had other foreign players as well, but I think Pennant was a big factor. So basically, when I joined last 3 games, I was about to get my jersey, but sadly, even though my coach requested the jersey from the general manager at the time, he didn't receive it. So what my coach did, which was I really look up to him. He basically went because during that time we were sponsored by Keepstar, Decathlon.
Uh-huh.
So he actually went to Decathlon, got a Tampines Rovers jersey, got my number printed, and gave it to me.
Really? Wow.
So
That is
out of his
impressive,
own
actually.
pocket money, he actually gave it to me.
Yeah.
So when I heard that, I was like, wow, like, oh, okay, the coach is real. The coach really does want me to join and wants me to play, and he's passionate about the team. He actually really cares about the team, which is great. So of course, results didn't go away. So I played for only 2 months because I joined during the last 3 games. And so if you do the maths correctly, it's 30 per month. So I'm supposed to get $60. So the payment is by cash. So
Wow.
turns out my name was registered, and the coach actually placed in, said that okay, he played for these last 2 months, give him his salary, even though it's just $60, let's give it to him. It was rejected.
Really? It
I
was
don't know
rejected.
why it was rejected. It was rejected or something happened because my coach said to me that he didn't get the payment for me. So what he did in front of my eyes was basically from his wallet, he took out $60 and he gave to me, say, thanks for playing for this club because you really showed that you wanted to be in the club. He actually gave me $60 of his own pocket money, which was, I mean, at that time, I didn't see, I was like, oh, okay, thanks. But now when I actually think about it, it's actually such a great gesture from him
It is.
because that's how much he so-called appreciated the players. Yeah. So growing up during my time, okay, I'm not that old, but during my time, back when I was 15, 16, the youth system for Tampines Rovers was a bit of a mess because of financial issues and all that. But
Yeah.
of course, you have the home Uniteds, the back then Warriors, when it's not closed down. They were
Yeah.
actually doing very well. They had good players. And also last time they had the NFA system, the National Football Academy system,
Yeah.
for all the national players to be in one team. So other than those other clubs, so other clubs like Hougang, Geylang didn't get as much results, but I would say compared to all of the clubs, Tampines Rovers, I would say was the worst, in the worst state, and especially as a youth player, because the club itself wasn't backing the youth. So that's what I felt, basically.
All right. Okay. Before I move on to Mr. JB to ask you as well, I just have one more question. Since you say you're a Gunners fan yourself, like I do, who's your favorite player
Yep.
of Arsenal?
Wow. Saliba, man, he's so calm, he's so composed. Like, I
Yeah.
don't know, I like some, even though if he makes a mistake, he will be able to fight back for the ball. I think that really shows the determination that he has for the club. I really like it.
Yeah, our Rolls Royce defender is what we like to say, huh? All right.
Yes,
Mr. JB, I'm gonna pass
that's
it on
right.
to you to ask our special guest for anything. I'm sorry again if I have to add the Gunners relation between us. I don't have this often, so take it away, Mr. JB.
It's okay. It's okay. It's all right. No problem. You can rub it in. Ain't no problem. Yeah. So I think it's quite interesting to hear from someone coming to the youth setup and all that. So I mean, of course, back then when you were 15 and 16, I think that's the age where I agree. Uh, as much as it's a kind of like a hobby kind of thing and everything else, but once you enter a professional club, you are expected to perform and to at least have the discipline to attend trainings and all that. Uh, yeah, and I think as far as the financial part is concerned, I think that is, I mean, looking at the amount, it's more like an allowance, I guess I would say. I wouldn't even call it a pay,
Yeah.
probably. Yeah, so I think it's quite interesting to hear from someone who has, at least been through, even though it's only a short stint. But yeah, I mean, at that point of time, I'm not sure if you, whether AJ still follows the local SPL like now. Like, do you still follow the local league?
Current in terms of watching the match, yes, but ever since I started working with Sports SG
Hmm.
back in September,
Yeah.
I am very involved actually.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's quite interesting. I mean, I'm not sure whether during your time, but I think back then when Jermaine Pennant came, I remember me and Faiz, we actually managed to sneak somewhere, I think near the dressing room, just to take a picture with him and all that, because yeah, he
That
was
was
quite a
that
big
was
thing. But after
Pennant's
that, when we
first game
realized that
actually.
after yeah, we remember we actually bought tickets just to see him debut. But after that, when we see his performance and all that, it's kind of like lukewarm. Like we kind of feel like what is he actually giving? Like what is he actually uh how to say give back to the league per se. Yes, he's a marquee signing, and all that, but I'm not sure whether he really helps the league. So I think just in that aspect itself, just want to ask AG, I mean, the crowd back then and the crowd now, I'm not sure if it's a decline or an increase, but just looking at it from a local football perspective, what do you think can be done in terms of trying to bring the fans back? Like at least going down to the
Okay.
stadiums and all that. I mean, now I think they kind of make it like I'm not sure if you recall back then the stadiums were still separated. Like Geylang is at Bedok and all that.
Yeah.
But now they kind of like make it like Geylang and Tampines share one one stadium, like, and all that. So yeah. So what do you think from that kind of perspective? Like, what do you think we can do to try and get the traction back to local football? Because like what you said, you see, Faiz have an Arsenal jersey, but I'm not sure if he has any local league jersey somewhere. Even I don't. I mean, to be fair,
I
at least
actually
I
still
still have a
have. I
Lion City
just chose
Sailor
not to
jersey,
wear
so it
it
ain't so
yet.
bad. So just to throw that question, what do you think can be done, AJ?
Okay, so first off, we can look at the fact. Personally, for me, I think uh, attendance has grown, and I think one of the main reasons is Albrechts and Sailors. I would say, especially the Sailors games, the atmosphere is really good. They got the fan base and all that, which is huge. And obviously, we can give a special shout out to like Hougang hosts. I know they are very impactful as well. For the Geylang, I don't know what their one is called. Some Bedok Eagles or something like that. That's one as well. Tampines Rovers also have their own
Yeah.
fan club fan base.
Yeah, I think Geylang is
So
called Ultra Eagles or
yeah, Ultra
something.
Eagles, yeah,
And
yeah,
then
Ultra Eagles.
yeah, and then Tampines Rovers is the Yellow Knights, if I'm not wrong.
Yellow
Yeah.
Knights. Okay, yeah, yeah,
Mm.
okay, yeah, correct. So obviously, if for me, I would say that now is definitely a lot more exposed. The more
Right.
fans are starting coming.
Right.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
of course, what I would feel would help. So let's take Sailors for example. So
Mm.
what they did is they privatized their club. So obviously
Right.
the owner of Shopee, if I'm not wrong, and Garuda
Yeah.
or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
he bought Home United. And
Yep.
what happens is that Singaporeans we love drama. So the
Yeah.
moment something goes on, something big, and then suddenly a lot of money is spent on it, people will be like, oh, what's happening here? What's happening here? Diego Lopez was a good example. I think it was 1 million
Yeah.
something bought for. I
Yep.
think most
Yeah.
Yep.
expensive.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you
Transfer.
wouldn't
Yeah.
hear, you wouldn't hear of a transfer in Singapore because Singapore contracts are all 1 year, 1 year, 1 year only.
Yeah.
That's very common.
Mhm.
Yeah, Singapore contracts are all yearly on annually, so 1 year contracts. So when
So
you
it's like a
hear
per season.
yeah, per season contract. So when you hear a club actually going out to buy, so obviously that brings out some form of excitement, some form of controversy, drama, depends on how you look at it. And then obviously they become so-called the first privatized club in Singapore, if I'm not mistaken,
Yep.
because
Yep.
like all of them are still owned. So when that came about, we started to see an incline in stadium attendance, especially for the sailors, because sailors give a reason for the fans to come. They give that excitement. They give that, okay, they are being serious about it. So now obviously we can see the likes of like Sim Lestin, uh, who are the other players? So, obviously got the other players, the strikers, and all that.
Yeah.
I forgot. They got a Brazilian centre back as well. So all this is a big part because it gives the fans a reason to support. So I'm not saying that other clubs don't do that. You know, we have obviously like Tempest Rovers who has Boris. They always call him Big Bad Boris Kopitovic, something like that. So
Yeah.
he's a good player, good international player, definitely. But at the same time, uh, Tempest Rovers do not have that same amount of flair or same amount of power which Sailors have. And also the results are also different. You can see Sailors going away, I think at Vietnam or somewhere, and they got the win for the Champions League, AFC Champions League, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken. So that was obviously something to be proud of because like, whoa, a Singapore club actually going overseas and beating them away. So that's one thing. And also maybe another thing I would like to point out is the priorities because like we can see it for Albrecht's games. The Japanese schools, they will have cheerleaders, they will have supporters, and you would see more Albrecht supporters than Tampines, Hougang, and Geylang combined, honestly. Because
Correct.
if you see for example, Albrecht versus Sailors games for Jurong East Stadium, the home, uh, the one facing the stadium for both sides, even the one which is further away from both the home and away stands, if I'm not mistaken, both are filled up
Yeah.
and it's either white or orange. So we can see that obviously whatever these two clubs are doing is actually good. And Albrechts, uh, not saying they probably don't bring as much excitement financially like what Sailors do, but what they do bring is that winning mentality because people want to see their team win in the end. You know, seeing your team lose, you get sick of it once
Right. Yeah.
every now and then. And for example, like not throwing any shade or anything, but Young Lions is one of them.
It's okay. In
There's
this channel,
no Young
many people
Lions.
have thrown shades at young lions in this channel so far. So we understand that.
So I mean, respect to the Young Lions players. I
Yeah.
I played against some of them before. They are very good players, but in terms of like they have no fan base. Some of them are good, can be a lot better. Sadly they have that losing mentality because every single game they're losing and it takes a toll on you psychologically, especially if you are playing I don't know how many games they're playing like there's 8 teams, 7 games playing each other 3 times, so there's like 21 games. So imagine losing all 21 games and maybe even winning one. Like it's just draining as a player. So
Alright.
as the fans as well, you don't want to see your team lose, especially since Singapore, our clubs, especially Young Lions, they are not sectored to like Hougang United, Hougang people might want to support something like that. So Young Lions is like no, I have no idea where Lions is based on as well. And they go Jalan Besar, they go everywhere.
Yeah.
And of course, they are not they are individually they are good, but proven that they are not good in the SPL. Nobody wants to support them. The most they get supported is by TikTok fans, because there's obviously some good looking people like Harry Stewart and all that, good looking local players. So that's why they get attracted to those players. But it's fine. But in terms of the footballing fan, they don't have that backup. So enough of analyzing the clubs. What we can do better, of course, the financial part in terms of what sailors bring, and also the mentality, the winning mentality which Albrecht Mikata bring. And one more thing for me personally, which I feel would help, is I think it's quite clear cut. Is the culture. It's the culture in Singaporeans. So
Yeah.
such as like in if okay, let's compare somewhere nearer Malaysia. No, I wanted to compare German football, but even German football, even in their League 3 and League 4, their stadiums are packed. That's a different story. So we talk about Malaysia, our nearest neighbors. When you look at the likes of Johor, maybe, when you see them, even their youth game, sometimes they'll be packed. And that's because of the culture that they have established there. So I'm not saying that studies is not important, because I've and I'm not saying studies is the only thing that is affecting us. Obviously, career and all that. We've always been raised up having a thinking that football isn't, or being an athlete in general isn't a liable career, isn't a long-term career, and that you should focus on your career elsewhere other than sports. So I think that has been stuck in our head, and also because like football hasn't been supported as much as it was back then, back in so-called the glory days where Fandi Ahmad, Nazir Nasir, and all that played. So I think that is one of the main things, also culture, because our culture is always about getting a good career, not in sports, and also financially also it's very a big aspect towards having the culture changed, but at the same time I can't blame Singaporeans because everything in Singapore is expensive. So the culture change is needed.
Yeah,
definitely.
I have to agree on
Maybe.
the culture portion. Yeah, I mean it's kind of true. And you also mentioned a very good point. Yes, back then during the heydays of Fandi Ahmad and all that, the stadiums were packed. And we're talking about 55,000 kind of packed at the old National Stadium. But I think maybe another factor that I feel is that the culture portion, because yes, you brought up an interesting point where our nearest neighbors, Malaysia, like Johor and all that. At least I feel that they kind of feel belong because probably they are states, and their states are like very far and all that. So if you stay in Johor all your life, chances are you grow up in Johor. Whereas in Singapore, I think like even if you stay in Tampines Rovers also, I mean even if you stay in Tampines and you're supposed to support Tampines Rovers, but there isn't that kind of connection, I suppose. Although previously I do recall when the S League first started, back then when it was still called S League in 95 or 96, it was still not too bad because there was still a bit of fanfare because most of our national players are there. And then slowly for some reason it kind of gets dipped again. And then with the introduction of Lions 12, I'm not sure if you remember during that period. Yeah, Lions 12 entering the Malaysia league again, and then that kind of bring back the fans back. And then I kind of figure out like the reason why that kind of bring us together is because it's like the old time rivalry of Singapore club against Singapore versus Malaysia, those kind of vibes. So yeah, I mean it's quite interesting that you mentioned all that because yes, these are some of the parallels now. And yes, you also correctly pointed out about Young Lions. Psychologically, yes, it's not doing them any good. We even have a discussion the other time with Faiz, we were saying that, perhaps we should even scrap the Young Lions name, don't call them Young Lions because they will feel like oh, we are just young lions, that's it. Like call them an estate or something, like just change the whole thing. I think that is one of the conversations we had with Faiz, and some of the other guests as well, is to make them don't feel like they are being spoon fed, in that sense, because they know that okay, it's
Yep.
okay. I mean, it's okay to lose as long as I just do my own thing. I just try to show here and there, and then hopefully the other clubs will spot me or scout me, and then will probably sign me because I'm not gonna be a Young Lions forever. That's the kind of mentality that they are building at the moment, and it's kind of not helping. Like it's almost like if you're losing all the time and there's no relegation system, then how much does it help? You know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean
So
that
yeah,
that
so
is
I believe
definitely
that's
true.
quite
I
interesting. Yeah.
mean, Young Lions as a project, I think we all have seen throughout the years. Initially, it started off as an opportunity for the younger generation and younger footballers to step into the big leagues with the more senior national players, so that they can at least, in a way, outgrow themselves in their football game. But throughout the years now, we have seen. I mean, they have not been improving in any sense. They have been just rock bottom all the way. Last season, there was a little bit better when we were seeing the league for Young Lions. But this season, 5 points in 24 games, like what Mr. AJ just said, that it's going to be just demoralizing for players like this coming in and out, just losing 21 match out of 24, which brings a question that for how many years now that they are bringing these Young Lions as a project, like what does this actually benefit at the moment? Yes, you are kind of preparing them to play for the national in the future, but not everyone is gonna get the same opportunity. None of them really become a breakout star. Most of the breakout stars are never really from the Young Lions. Is if they were to perform in Singapore as a country, like national team, then only you'll be like a breakout star. But example, okay, I'll give one of the breakout star. I believe last season everyone talks the most Noor Adam Abdullah. He's a young player, young defender who is performing really well. But he doesn't come from, I mean, I guess he started from Young Lions, but he needs to come out from Young Lions in order to actually be known and noticed for once. And he was only noticed when he was at LCS. So then kind of brings a question like, is Young Lions just a feeder team to the other teams of S League? Or are they supposed to be a club identity on its own to show that this younger generation can play in the big leagues? I'm still not too sure about it as well. But yeah, again, we can talk about them all day. This could take another whole episode on its own. But but yeah, like I thank you. I mean, Najma, for actually sharing with us your thoughts on this. Mr. JB, is there any other things would you like to add on?
No, it's all good for the local league for now.
Oh,
Yeah.
good. Nice. Just out of curiosity, you say you're a youth player in Tampines. What number were you wearing? And what position are you?
I played 2 years. When I was 15 years old, I was playing 16. I was playing centre back, mainly
Centre
centre
back.
back because of my height. I was one of the early growers. So that's why
Yeah.
they placed me as centre back.
All right.
Even though I naturally played, but usually I will play a defensive line. So either defensive mid most of the time. And then
So your preferred
when I
position would
was
be
16, that was
defensive
when,
midfield kind of thing.
yeah, defensive midfielder, ball winning. That's
Ball
my
winning.
kind of thing.
Ah.
I just want to win the ball and then start back. Yeah, so that's my kind of thing. And then when I was 16, that was when I was participating in under 17. So it was 17 and 16-year-olds in the team. That one I mainly played right back because of a lot of better players, I would say, when at the centre back position. A lot better, older, experienced players. Yeah.
Oh, nice, nice. Right. Again, thank you for sharing with us your experience. It's amazing to know everything more about you. And now we're gonna move on to our first actual topic for the podcast. Now we can move on to our first actual topic for this podcast, and that is because we're currently in an international break. So, of course, the one thing that we can only talk about, which is what exactly happened to our country, Singapore, who recently just had a match, first leg of the World Cup qualifier against Guam. Now, I'm not sure if you both gentlemen have watched this match. I personally did. And I would say that the scoreline is 2-1, correct? However, the
Yep.
the story and the emotions of the two teams are completely opposite. Singapore winning 2-1, yet Singapore comes out to be more frustrated and disappointed, whereas Guam, who scored that one goal, are the more happier side. Way more happier than what we thought. So I want to know your thoughts first. So I'm going to start with our special guest here. AJ, you can tell me what are your thoughts about that match, if you have watched, and share with us exactly your feels towards how Singapore have played so far.
Yeah, I have watched it. I was there. I watched it live.
Oh, you watch it
Uh,
live. Nice.
So I had tickets. Yeah, because luckily if you work with Sports SG, you'll get tickets. So I got the tickets, so I just went and watched. So Guam, Singapore. Look, let's talk about Singapore aspect first. We should have won by a lot more goals. That's what I felt.
Yes.
We dominated. Technically, we were way better than them. Some of the Guam players, like they played for like school level. Some of them look more like rugby players than football players,
Yeah.
because of their size and all that. And then, obviously, technically, we were way better. We had way more chances. Set for Shawal Anwar. He had a lot of great chances. He could have scored two or three. Ilhan as well. Song also could have scored one or two. Chris, good goal, but he could have scored some as well because he always wants to do his fancy work. Fair enough, he got a goal though. So I feel like Singapore isn't happy because of how the match actually went. They felt that they could have done a lot better. So obviously the frustration comes, and also because they are at home and we are facing them away, because I
Yeah.
think they just went for their flight just now. So
Yeah.
obviously going away at Guam. I don't know where Guam is. Guam is like a Filipino country, is it?
It's
Or
actually
Southeast,
more of
anyways,
a
Southeast Asian country.
it's a US territory actually. It's an island US territory,
Oh,
but it's
US.
not around US.
Okay.
It's a US territory cover, but the actual island is around Oceania. If I'm not wrong, it takes about 12 to 13 hours flight. I know you're probably wondering how I know. It's because I
Okay.
have to Google as well to know where exactly they're from. Because we have to know our opponent,
Yeah.
we have to respect every opponent whenever it comes to
Yeah.
football and all that. So it's very interesting to see Guam's nationality there. Is a very mixed culture as well, it seems. But yeah, Singapore has a lot of wasted chances, like what AJ said. Mr. JB, what do you think? I mean, I believe a commentary at one point, because for us watching at home or through me watch, for us watching at home, the commentary were actually saying that Guam actually have not played any football match for about a year. So for Singapore to get away only just 2-1 victory, what do you think, Mr. JB?
Yeah, I think to be honest, it's a build up lah from the past few international friendly matches and all that. Like you can tell, people are getting frustrated. People are getting, fed up or lose hope to our national team. Uh, because of the constant either losing or just not scoring enough goals. But back to this match, like just to focus on this game, uh, it's a it's not just any game. It's not a friendly. It's a World Cup qualifier, uh, and to have that chance to be given, I mean, I'm to be all honesty, I've not heard of Guam's football like ever until like now. So who knows like how their football is, but in terms of what I saw yesterday, just glimpses of it, I didn't catch the whole game. But yeah, I mean, looking at the first half, I think I managed to spot most of the first half. I think we do, like what AJ said, I think we do have quite a number of chances that we should have put it all, like just literally kill the game right there and then in the first half, 4 or 5 goals, be it all comfortable. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's football, right? So, it may or may not be your day. Uh, but yeah, I think for the most part, the disappointment feeling comes because you conceded one crucial away goal. I'm not sure whether this World Cup qualifier actually follows the away goal rule. Probably is.
They still do
Yeah,
follow the away
nowadays
goal
with the
rule,
rules and
actually.
all.
Yeah.
Okay, yes. So yeah, so that
There's a
explains
reason
even
why
more why
Guam
they are feeling a little
celebrated so
down.
much with that one goal. Because if not, then it
Exactly,
wouldn't make sense, really.
exactly. I mean, because it's to the point where, to the opposition that comes to Singapore to play, right? Either at the National Stadium or at the Jalan Besar. Usually they will complain more if it's at Jalan Besar because of the artificial turf.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Because all the other nations or all the other clubs, or you ask anyone outside of Singapore, any footballing nation, they will tell you that they don't like artificial grass. For some reason, they don't feel like it's a nice surface to play with. So we kind of have that so-called advantage, but sadly, the result that show otherwise. Sometimes, like it doesn't really gives us much advantage. And also, I think the players as well. I believe. I'm not saying that the players are not up to mark. I mean, currently, because we do have some, I would say, big names like Song, Ilhan, and all that, and of course, Irfan and Iksan. If they are fit and well, they'll probably be selected for the national team as well. Uh, but yeah, back to that entire Guam game. I think that is the disappointment part. I think it carries forward because if you realize recently there's a lot of back and forth. I believe there's an urgent forum or something like that they did with the members of public trying to get feedback on what next to do for the national team because we are so bad. And then the recent Asian Games, we have to pull out the boys national team out of the Asian Games. We only end up sending the girls team, but even then, okay, I mean, valiant effort for the girls team because at least now we are trying to develop the girls team, like only now, so at least right now, even if they were to get outrageously scoreline results, it's still okay because, it's fairly new, right? But for the boys football, uh, sadly, it's otherwise. And I also feel that, uh, to be honest, I do pity the coach. I do pity the current national team coach because uh, he was given quite a difficult task to fill in after the previous one, which is Coach Tatsuma,
Yeah.
uh, because he did quite a very good job during the Suzuki Cup tournament, right? Uh, okay, I don't think it's called Suzuki Cup anymore. It's the AFF Mitsubishi Cup.
Yeah.
Yeah, during that tournament. But then again, which is why I feel that we are feeling a bit kind of still like trying to get our best 11. It's kind of different because if you look at history, right? During the Noah Alam Shah time, you have your Baihakis, you have your, like that strong 11, or at least that strong 8 or strong 7 that kind of built
Yeah.
the nucleus of the team, and then you kind of invite the rest, right? Yeah, but sadly now it's kind of like mix and match at the moment. Although yeah, I do see some players that may shine here and there, but they need time, to gel and all that, which is why at the moment we kind of feel that we are kind of regressing as compared to our other Southeast Asian neighbors like Malaysia, or even the national team that I'm most impressed right now is Indonesia even, because they're doing so well. Their youth is doing so well. So yeah, so we should probably take some notes down of what they're doing right. So yeah, I mean, it's a blow for Singapore, kind of. I mean, even though the result goes our favor, we win. But yeah, because going away, we always know away games gonna be tough. So it really depends on the boys and how they perform, because if Guam were to get the first goal in the second leg, then it might be a huge task to overcome. Although yes, there will be some naysayers, the fans who might go like, even if Singapore were to win, the next group we are gonna pair up with what, China, Thailand, and the likes. We might be out anyway, but at least give it a shot, give it a try, because I think we are at one point quite low in the international FIFA ranking also.
Yeah.
So at least this may help to get that point. So that's what I feel.
But my question to you guys now is that coming to the second leg, are you guys still confident that Singapore will go through? Just a quick, simple answer there, Mr. JB. Are you confident second leg
Yeah.
Singapore can push through to the next round then?
Yeah, I think we can, but it'll be tough. It'll be a tough fight, but I think we can. We may nick it.
All right. How about you, AJ? Do you have seeing how Singapore play? Yes, we get it. That a lot of sloppy plays, a lot of missed chances, a lot of opportunities not being taken to our own hands with the home advantage that we have. Now going to Guam, Is it going to be a close game than you thought, or do you have the confidence that Singapore will go through to the next round then?
I mean, I'm a Singaporean. I have the confidence, most definitely. But if realistically saying, do you have any information in terms of like how the weather is like there or anything?
Weather-wise,
Considering it's like near,
you know what? Yeah, I can look
yeah,
up for you real quick. But while I'm looking up, maybe you can give me your predictions for
because
the Singapore Guam second leg.
yeah,
Then,
because
Mr. JB as well, you can think of a
mm,
result as well.
I mean, I think okay, hopefully Singapore will win. I think narrowly will win. The most is also another 2-1 or 1-0 because our three at the back formation
Uh-huh.
is still trying to be proved to be good. 3 or 5 at the back. Usually it's 3 because Van Huizen and Zul actually goes up. So hopefully Jacob, Lionel, and who's the last one? Anu. Anu will be solid because I think defensively we have to be very strong
Mm.
because of their big muscular striker that one. So other than that, I'm actually quite confident. 2-1. Also, as said just now, the weather.
Oh yeah, well, weather
Hopefully the
report
weather
just
won't
come
be
in.
as
I'm
bad.
just checking the
Yeah.
weather now. Apparently, Guam has been raining for the past few days. However, on a regular weather, it's about the
Okay.
same as Singapore. It's about 30 degrees. So it's more or less Singapore kind of weather. In fact, Singapore nowadays is getting more warmer than what we thought. So
Yeah.
yeah, their humidity is quite high as well. So something that I guess Singapore could relate. Honestly, it's just probably
Yeah.
maybe a different air when you're in the island there as well. We may not know. But Mr. JB, what's your score then? AG has said 2-1 to Singapore again, just like the first leg. What about you, Mr. JB?
Yeah, I think if we were to be disciplined enough and not be too complacent, I think we can get away with a 1-0 win.
All right.
Yeah. But if not, also I feel like a 1-1 draw would be also possible. Yeah.
All right, okay. I mean, positive thoughts. That's very good. I mean, if you ask me myself, I would say that hopefully I would want Singapore to go through with a clean sheet because to me a clean sheet is more important, especially in the second leg, considering you have conceded one. So a 2-0. I'll give a 2-0 for Singapore. I mean, I know Guam, that free kick taker guy is pretty good. However, that maybe knowing that giving away set pieces to them is gonna be a trouble. Maybe hopefully they can hold on to their feet and not concede to silly fouls like that, you know. And just a quick run through to you guys. I'm not sure whether you guys know. Do you guys know that the Guam goalkeeper has actually played in MLS before? Do you guys know that?
Okay.
I just found
Nope.
out that
No
Guam
idea.
But
goalkeeper
yeah.
he's currently playing in America football now, but not in the top tier, but he has played in MLS top division before actually. So that I'm
Okay,
not sure
that's quite
whether that
interesting.
could actually be a main factor because the fact that I'm not saying that MLS is everything, but at the same time, he probably out of all the players there who has the more vast experience in other countries, this man who has played in let me check again. He played for FC Cincinnati in MLS, Phoenix Rising. Before then, he played in Greenville Triumph, which is not in MLS at the point. I think it's a lower division, and Monterey Bay FC, which is a Canadian league. So yeah, it's quite an interesting thing to know that they have players who are actually playing outside of their territory island as well, because considering their national team has never played any international matches for more than a year, only their own country league that they are playing at the moment. um is their keeper gonna be a trouble to us? What do you think?
JB, you want to go first?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
keeper is a hit or miss lah. I mean, he conceded 2 goals if he's the one playing yesterday evening. So
Yeah, because the
uh,
only reason why I
I mean,
highlighted it,
a
because of
keeper,
all the
yeah,
missed chances Singapore had. That's the main thing that we are
yep,
talking about. And most of it is, yes, it's kind of like
correct.
direct to the keeper. Most of the time, it's kind of like
Yeah.
when we see almost any keeper can kind of catch it. But there was some of it that, he does put in the effort to hold the ball rather than punching it. He has that experience, so is that keeper gonna be the key to Guam in the second leg against us?
Yeah, possible. But I mean, I feel that at the end of the day, football is a team sport. So a goalkeeper is only as good as his defense. So
Yeah.
if his defense can provide enough cover, he might be okay. But if not, goals might flood in eventually.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And also just one more fun fact: the free kick taker who scored for Guam against Singapore was probably the most senior and the oldest player over there. He's a 39-year-old player there. Cunliffe, I believe his name. So
Okay.
yeah,
Wow, 39-year-old.
yeah, 39 years old, still banging in free kicks like Beckham.
I don't remember.
I cannot say anything else. I am a
Yeah,
little bit worried for once. But hey, Guam needs
yeah.
surprise. I mean, we cannot take our opponents lightly. That's the whole point I'm trying to say. But of course, we have to support our team. We are definitely going to cheer them on, and hopefully they can do well in their qualifier. And then
I don't.
hopefully, in our subsequent podcast episode, we can talk more about their next and upcoming match, and hope it doesn't stop at this Guam and this stuff. And of course, before I'm gonna actually move on as well, I'm actually going to ask you guys just a quick question as well before we move on to other international things that happen. Yes, we as fans, Singapore fans, realistically know that Singapore going to World Cup is almost not say almost, it's impossible at the moment. Of course, anything can happen, but at the moment it's somewhat impossible. But at the moment, you seeing Singapore squad now, how far how far can you see this Singapore team going through to the qualifier at the moment? Like, what's the realistic achievement? Would you consider that as, better than the previous qualifying that they have? Like, of course, it's a progress, but what's your personal achievement you feel Singapore could go to and achieve your target for the team? So I'll start with AJ. You can tell me, like, what's the furthest you feel that Singapore should go through to a point before you can say, like, you know what, they did well. Next time we try to go forwards more.
For the qualifiers, I'm not so sure how it works. Is it because I know sometimes there's based on table basis, then this one suddenly a qualifying round.
Oh yeah.
So
So
is it like
basically,
round
this
one,
is
two,
a
three?
preliminary round before you go to a group,
Yeah,
and then after group, you're gonna have
group,
to
all
go
right.
to another bigger group. And then after the
Yeah,
bigger group, you are
yeah,
gonna have another qualifying before you go into the World Cup. So there are many, many matches, especially for lower ranking
yeah,
teams like us. We have to play more to
yeah,
earn that. So knowing that
yeah.
for the past few times, Singapore has always kind of go through the preliminary, sorry, to go to the first group stage and then subsequently go to the second group stage. I think the furthest that we have went is to the second group stage, is where we face the big boys like Uzbekistan and like Saudi or Korea and Japan. In that second group stage, the big players there. I believe Singapore only reached there once in that group stage area. Of course, we didn't make it out. Vietnam was around there as well. Thailand was around there. They kind of reach around that stage before they move on. So, can you see Singapore hitting that same stage, or do you think you can go further this time around?
I think definitely will be tough because I mean we have a new batch of youngsters coming up as well.
Yeah,
Obviously, Ilhan, Jacob, Haris is getting old. Um, Playing style is different.
yeah,
So last time they always before Yoshida they always play a basic four at the back. Now they're playing more advanced wing backs, attacking wing backs. So I would say the main worry is the stamina. How much can those wing backs run? How fast are our defenders to keep up with the pacey strikers from Thailand or other Southeast Asian countries, those which are genetically who are going to be way stronger than us, way faster than us. We
yeah.
don't need to talk about Japan, Korea, Saudi. They are just way ahead of us. So realistically, uh, uh, I would be happy if we go into the second round of the group stages. Basically.
All right. Now, Mr. JB, can you see them doing the same like how it was the previous time? Because I believe the previous World Cup qualifying before for World Cup 2022, we were in that stage. We have the chance.
Yeah.
And I believe they even talk about the game that everyone loved to talk about, the 0-0, the famous 0-0 draw Singapore and Japan, where Izom Mahmood make ridiculous amount of saves on that match and all that. So can we replicate that and kind of challenge for this time around, or do you still feel like it's still a long way to go for Singapore?
Yeah, as much as I'm trying to be optimistic for Singapore, I think it's tough. Uh, and I just read like if we were to do beat Guam, uh, we will enter into a group of one of the groups of 36 teams,
Yes.
and we will end up in Group C, which is Thailand, China, and Korea Republic.
Yeah.
Yeah, so so if we were to progress, we'll end up in that group. So I think, realistically speaking, yeah, I think only up to that group. But even then again, I expect them to, to go all out, go out on a shield, try and get as much points as you can. Even if there's no wins, try to go for draws, and all that, because this will help. The more tournaments you play, the more games you play, it will help. Experience wise, like understanding the tactics and all that. So yes, so not hoping for much, but yeah, I think at most to most only up to the next group stage round is where I'm putting the target as. Of course, it'll be much more realistic if we can win in
Mm.
again, or you know at least try to win things like the Asian Games, or perhaps the Sea Games even. These are the kind of things that small tournaments that we should be aiming at, and then only when we reach at that level that we can probably slowly progress to the rest of Asia and the likes. Yeah.
All right, all right. And okay, of course, before we wrap things up for the part one of our podcast, before we move on to the part two, yeah, so AJ, do you have any, of course, we all are supporting Singapore, but let's face it, we all have that secondary country that we kind of follow and support as well during the World Cup or anything. Who do you support then?
I always say every World Cup that is coming home, but it hasn't come home yet.
Is
So
England.
obviously,
Oh.
the long, long live the king. So England, yeah, I'm a big England fan. So
Oh,
I
nice.
think something about England is, yeah, something about England is, I mean, with other international players as well. I mean, they just gel well and they interact well. Uh, just amazing. Even though some of them are like from City, United, Liverpool, United, Arsenal,
Yeah.
Tottenham, you can see that there's really a bond when it comes to international games, and they play very well together. So I think that's England for sure.
Oh wow. Well, Mr. JB, we have an England fan over here. And yeah, just to let you know, AJ, I'm actually a fan of France for a very long time. Uh Purely because he started off with one player, Thierry Henry, Arsenal fan, of course, so
Oh,
you know the
of
legend.
course, Arsenal
So
legend.
then you follow France, naturally. And Mr. JB, maybe you can share your favorite country that you support and follow. Also known as the king without a crown, I believe, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. You know, the country that I support has that nickname of the king without a crown. Exactly, the king who I think end up in quite a number of semi-finals and finals, but have never won the World Cup,
Oh,
sadly.
okay.
And that is Dutch, Holland, or Netherlands. Yeah, quite unique, right? Yeah, three different names, and still didn't win anything despite all three names. So yeah, it is what it is. But yeah, I'm a fan of Dutch, because back then, the term total football and all that is really really uh nice lah. And yes, sadly back then not many United players actually came from Dutch. Uh, Sadly, I supported Mark Overmars as a player, despite him playing for
Arsenal.
Arsenal. Yeah, I still feel he's a good player. And then you have your David and your Clivert and the like. So those are the players. I really kind of enjoy watching them. But sadly, yeah, they always like reach up to semis or finals, and then he just fumbled. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's for me.
All right, awesome. I mean, that comes the end of the part one of our podcast. I mean, first of all, thank you again, AJ, for joining us to our podcast. It's really a pleasure to have you to join us and share your experience, your thoughts, and we get to talk about Singapore football. I hope you can still join us again. But of course, stick around for those who are watching by YouTube or listening through Spotify. We have a part two coming up. You can check out Mr. JB gonna take on a quiz after a very long time against a special guest AJ over here. So of course do stick around, and of course don't forget to like, share, subscribe, comment down below what you guys think of our opinion and thoughts. Just share with us everything, and hope to see you guys again soon. All right, see you in the part two. Take care.